Michael and Trevor participated in a robbery at a small bank in the town of Ludendorff. Michael faked his death to deceive Trevor and moved to live in the city of Los Santos. In this city, Franklin is also making a living by stealing supercars for boss Simeon. Franklin was awarded the title of Excellent Employee of the Month by supercar boss Simeon, and asked Franklin to take back the car he sold to the Vagos gang. Then Mr. Simeon asked Franklin to take back the car that Jimmy, Michael's son, had bought it before, but unfortunately Michael discovered it and hid in the car before Franklin took the car and left. When arriving at Mr. Simeon's supercar store, Michael punched Simeon for daring to cheat. After Michael punched supercar owner Simeon once and returned home, at the same time Franklin was also fired from the supercar store. With nowhere else to go, Franklin went to Michael's house to ask to go with him. Michael made money. While Franklin and Michael were planning to go out for a beer, Michael's son Jimmy was trapped in a yacht being taken away by a group of scammers, forcing Franklin and Michael to change direction to rescue Jimmy from that yacht. Franklin and Michael saved Jimmy, but the cruise was still stolen. After Franklin returned from Michael's house, he met Tonya. Tonya asked Franklin to tow her car back to the parking lot. Franklin took action. Hero accepted. After helping Tonya, it was already late when he returned home. Franklin slept soundly until the next morning, when Lamar came over and invited Franklin to take a photo of a member of the Ballas group. After capturing the young man from the Ballas group at the train station, Franklin let Lamar take him away. When Franklin arrived at Michael's house, Michael accidentally caught his wife having an affair with the tennis coach, practicing tennis in bed. Michael couldn't control his anger and invited Franklin to follow him to beat the coach, but he managed to escape to a hillside villa. Michael thought it was the coach's house, so he pulled the whole house down, but Michael's life was as black dog sauce. That house belonged to Mexico's biggest drug lord, Martin Madrazo. He came to Michael's house to confront Michael, ask Michael to pay him back for the house. I was hot inside because of bitterness. When I met a guy who beat Jimmy up and played video games every night, Michael went up and smashed the TV and dragged Jimmy to ride his bike. Jimmy took Michael to the boat dock to ride his bike and revealed Tracy the Santa's secret. Michael's eldest daughter was floating on the yacht. Michael's blood flowed to the surface. He swam up to the yacht and pulled his daughter back at the same time. Because Michael pulled down the drug lord's house and he demanded money to repair the house. So Michael went to see Lester. Lester asks Michael to install an electronic chip, or more accurately, a mini bomb, into a phone technology company in order to manipulate that company's stock price. Because in order to get Lester to agree to design a robbery to have money to pay the drug lord, Michael reluctantly agreed to murder the president of the technology company. After Michael helped Lester assassinate the president of telephone technology, he was discovered by the IT staff of that telephone technology company. At night, Michael came to see Lester to discuss preparations for a diamond robbery that would shake up the city of Los Santos. In the morning, Michael and Lester went to scout the situation at that diamond store. After having all the information, Lester created a meticulously detailed plan for the robbery of a diamond store in Los Santos, and Michael also called Franklin to invite Franklin to participate in this shocking robbery. Franklin returned home. The next morning, Lamar and Stretch went to Franklin's house to invite Franklin to go buy a gun and go to an abandoned house on the edge of the city. On the way, invited his younger brother to follow him. When he got there, Franklin was set up by a group of ballers. All three had an extremely fierce gunfight in an abandoned house. The crazy dog couldn't fly and was hit by the bullets and didn't survive. After clashing with the ballers gang, the group got into trouble with the Los Santos police. One day before the planned diamond robbery, both Michael and Franklin went to get their hair cut and trimmed to prepare for the robbery and become tycoons. That evening, Michael went to rob a police car to prepare for the robbery. After discussing and reaching an agreement, the group entered the diamond store, opened fire and robbed them, then escaped from prison before the police. After Michael and Franklin's robbery of the diamond store, the shocking incident was broadcast on television. At the same time, Trevor has sex with Ashley, and Ashley was Johnny's lover, so Johnny went to confront Trevor. Feeling bitter about being tricked by Michael for the past 9 years, plus Trevor's inherent anger, he counterattacked and retaliated by throwing Johnny to the ground, smashing a beer bottle on his head and stomping him to death. Because Johnny is the leading member of the Lost MC gang, after accidentally sending Johnny back to the underground, Trevor did not forget to run to the Lost MC gang and confront the entire gang. After taking down the leader of the Lost MC in Blaine County, Trevor decides to end the control of the Aztecas, thus placing himself and his gang at the forefront of organized crime in the district. He drove to Ortega's trailer and pushed it into the river. After Trevor killed Johnny, the leader of the Lost MC gang, and Ortega, the Lost MC gang's subordinates came to Trevor's house to destroy furniture. Trevor's dog Vlad emerged, and Trevor and Ron robbed the Lost Gang's airport. MC. What will happen next in this story? Trevor met his Chinese business partner named Cheng at a small bar. While taking Cheng to Trevor's drug warehouse, at the same time Ortega's subordinates came to pursue Trevor because Trevor had killed their boss Ortega. After re-slapping the car to prepare a multi-billion-dollar deal with Cheng, the son of the Triad president, Trevor realized that this deal had been snatched up by the O'Neill brothers, because they were too bitter to the point of inhumanity. Extremely, Trevor dragged his men to the barracks. O'Neill's brothers taught them a lesson for liking to sit cool and eat a bowl of gold, and at the same time, not forgetting to light the fire to burn the barracks in the middle of the night. Also on this night, Trevor decided to go to Los Santos city to meet Michael again after 9 years of seemingly separate yin and yang. Before arriving in Los Santos, Trevor visited the Lost MC group again in the middle of a rainy and windy night. Trevor burned down all of Bang Lost MC's houses so the brothers could warm up. After Trevor arrived in Los Santos city and investigated Michael's home address, Trevor prepared a red supercar to prove that his goods were not small and went to Michael's house. Prince Jimmy had a bag of marijuana and his wife was also complaining about practicing yoga when the atmosphere suddenly became tense with the appearance of Trevor, much to the bewilderment of the whole family. Suddenly, Michael received news that his daughter Tracy was about to be humiliated on air. Michael and Trevor ran straight to where Tracy was recording. At that moment, Tracy was seduced by Laszlo to dance sexually on air. TV, Michael and Trevor were so angry at this image that they got mad and beat Laszlo, but he ran away. Michael and Trevor robbed a nearby truck and followed them to the foot of the bridge, forcing Laszlo to dance sexually. After scaring Laszlo pale, Michael and Trevor also broke up. After that, Michael called Dave to meet. After Trevor's sudden appearance, Michael called Agent Dave and wanted to meet Dave to tell him that Trevor had returned and was still driving the red car. At that time, Dave also investigated and found out that Michael was the person behind the wheel. After the diamond robbery that shocked the city of Los Santos, the two arranged to meet at the Galileo Observatory. Instead of arresting Michael for theft, he asked Michael to perform a mission. He wanted information about a guy named Ferdinand Kerimov. The IA declared him dead, but the FIB did not believe it and assumed he was being interrogated somewhere. Ferdinand has some information about Dave that could get him into trouble. Dave wants Michael to go to the morgue and identify the body. Michael asks how he's going to get into the morgue, since the place has tight security, so Dave knocks him out and says, "You faked your death before." Michael wakes up in the morgue while two medical examiners prepare to perform an autopsy on his body. He knocked one of them down but the other one ran away. A guard appears but Michael sneaks up behind him and knocks him out. Michael looked at the other bodies in the morgue. He finds one with Ferdinand's tag attached but the body is clearly not his, instead that of a woman. Michael calls Dave to report his discovery. After escaping the morgue he called Franklin to say they needed to talk. They planned to meet at the oil rig in El Burro Heights. Once there, Michael tells Franklin to leave town because the FIB will soon be investigating his case. After Michael performed an extremely difficult mission of faking a corpse to verify whether Ferdinand Kerimov was dead or not from the IA assigned by Agent Dave, on the way home Agent Dave of the FIB sent an email informing Michael that he was his superior. Steve Haynes found out everything and set a date to meet Michael. When Michael got home and was watching TV, Michael's wife invited Michael to practice yoga to calm down. After many incidents, Michael agreed to practice yoga with his wife and the yoga instructor. While practicing, the instructor yoga had a dirty act with Michael's wife, causing Michael's irritation to an infinite level, but Michael's wife and the yoga instructor left before Michael touched his feet. Unable to do anything, Michael went to Jimmy's room to invite Jimmy to drink coffee to strengthen the father-son relationship and Jimmy agreed, but Jimmy took Michael to Jimmy's friend and specially prepared a cup of coffee for Michael, laced with high doses of ecstasy. After Michael was high on drugs, Jimmy took his car and threw Michael on the street. Because the drug was too strong, Michael had hallucinations. When he woke up, all his clothes and money had been stolen. Embarrassed, Michael ran home to teach Jimmy a lesson, but discovered that his wife had left him and left behind a letter of separation. At the same time, Jimmy and his daughter Tracy also left him. At the end of the man's life, he was left alone. Because he was so sad at the family's situation, Michael called Tracy's daughter with the desire to see his wife and children again, but Tracy refused. Michael was drunk and thoughtful for several days. Finally, the date arrived with Agent Steve Haynes, Agent Dave's boss, at the cafe right at the FIB headquarters. Agent Steve Haynes asked Michael to steal back Ferdinand Kerimov from the agency. IAA International Relations. Michael reluctantly agreed. On the way, Dave asked Michael to call Franklin and at the same time, Dave also forced Trevor to participate in this mission. Michael's group, including Michael, Franklin and Trevor, used a helicopter to break into the International Relations Agency IAA and rob Ferdinand Kerimov. The mission was successful. Michael handed over Ferdinand Kerimov to the Federal Bureau of Investigation (FIB). Franklin arrives home and Denise berates him for his recent disloyalty to the family. Lima leaves Franklin's house and goes to Denise, saying he hasn't done enough of his work. Trevor appears mid-conversation, gives Denise a few dollars to get herself something nice, and tells her to leave. The trio and Chop get in the truck and head to Grove Street. Lima tells the group about the deal that's about to fail. They go to the house where the deal is taking place. Lima samples the pills to make sure they are good, but Trevor isn't sure about that and asks to taste the other side of the pill. He struggled with the dealer, finally breaking the brick and realizing it was just a plaster wall in the middle. The dealer shouted that his deal had gone wrong, starting a street shootout with neighboring ballers. Chop runs away, with Trevor, Franklin and Lima trying to escape Grove Street. LSPD arrives on the scene, causing the trio to achieve 3-star heat. The group fled the streets into the Los Santos River. They stole a few sea sharks and rushed out to sea. After a fierce pursuit, the group decided to split up to increase their chances of escape. After the business deal between Franklin, Lima and Trevor failed, Franklin received a text message from Lester asking to meet him at the beach. Lester met Franklin and asked Franklin to assassinate Brett Lowry, the CEO of Bilkinton Research, a pharmaceutical company with a history of fierce commercial competition with Better Pharmaceuticals, because Lowry attempted to bribe officials to sell his company's unapproved drug Priapol on the market. Lester, a major shareholder of Better Shares, discovered this bribery plot and hired Franklin Clinton to assassinate Lowry to avoid completing the deal, in order to push Priapol out of the market. Following Lester's instructions, as Lowry left the Von Christenberg Hotel in Richmond, he was assassinated by Franklin. His death prevented Priapol from receiving FDA approval, which in turn caused shares of Bilkinton Research to plummet and shares of Better Pharmaceuticals to surge. Because of this huge profit, Lester bought a hillside villa for Franklin, and Franklin also moved here to live. After Lester donated the house and car to Franklin, Lester announced that Redwood Cigarettes Tobacco Company had bribed 4 jurors to testify favorably in the trial of a lawsuit related to respiratory diseases suffered by thousands of people. So Lester wants Franklin to quickly kill all 4 people to harm the trial the next day, helping the patients and redeeming himself from the stock market. Lester will announce the scores of the 4 people to kill one after another after Franklin kills each other. Having completed the task requested by Lester, Franklin drove home. Trevor walked into Floyd's apartment and saw Floyd and Wade talking about him. Floyd said he had a rough start with his fiancée Deborah and she would have left him if she knew there was a stranger living there in her house, and took her underwear to wear for Mr. Raspberry Jam, Bear. At the same time, also said that she was not satisfied because he had a small boy. Perverted Trevor told him to take it off for him to see, but Floyd didn't want to do that, so Trevor took off his pants. Trevor said Wade said that Floyd worked at the port, so Trevor wanted to ask if there were any valuable goods there. Floyd said it wasn't clear, but there probably was. At this time, Trevor took out 3 uniforms and told them to change, and together they went to the port to see. Get in the car and go to the port. On the way, Trevor asked Floyd about what could be stolen at the port, but he really didn't pay attention. He said when he was young, he only stole a pencil and regretted it until now. Now I don't want to steal. After being pressured, he said there was a private ship of the military company, Merryweather Inn, that always had a mercenary team on guard. Trevor asked what was inside, but Floyd said he didn't know. After reading Wade's message, Trevor immediately got out and took the red car and drove straight to the harbor. With his childhood love of stealing, Trevor gently snuck onto the ship and stole the submarine, then drove the ship. Secretly went to the rendezvous point that Floyd had arranged in advance. After stealing the submarine from the harbor, Wade texted Trevor to remind him not to forget to steal the cargo plane at the military airport. Receiving the message that Trevor's stolen blood was rising, Trevor immediately ran to the weapons store and took the motorbike he had prepared in advance to make it easier to break into the airport. After completing his thefts, Michael invited Trevor to a warehouse to meet Steve Haynes and Agent Dave. Here Fib is arresting Ferdinand Kerimov, asking Ferdinand Kerimov to reveal the location of Tahir Javan, a green energy businessman and suspected terrorist of Azerbaijani origin. Through the torture of IAA informant and alleged spy Ferdinand Kerimov, Javan was assassinated by Michael de Santa on orders from the Fib. After assassinating Tahir Javan, Trevor, with his honest nature since childhood, drove Ferdinand Kerimov to the airport so that Ferdinand Kerimov could escape Los Santos City to avoid the pursuit of Fib and IAA. Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave arranged for Michael, Trevor and Franklin to meet and ask the trio to rob Steve Haynes' money cart. And Dave, how to do it. Steve Haynes and Dave let the 3 of them do it themselves. Michael has an idea for a quick and shortened attack but requires a garbage truck, crane, masks and related items. Trevor will be in charge of preparing items for the robbery and preparing an escape car for all 3 people. After completing the preparations for the robbery, Trevor invited Michael and Franklin to go to Floyd's house to discuss another robbery plan without letting Lester know about this incident. The three agreed and divided the work. Michael would drive. The transport plane carries the submarine to the sea. Trevor will pilot the submarine and Franklin will support all three. The plan is a complete success. After returning to Trevor's airport, Lester also knows the job and recognizes this weapon. It's top military secret. Demand that Trevor bring it back or we'll all be screwed. All three of them were angry because what they had just done was for nothing. Although Franklin and Michael are very angry with Trevor for the nuclear weapons theft, all three are tied by FIB agent Steve Haynes to the previous money car robbery, which quickly reaches the day of the robbery plan. Michael will drive a garbage truck to block the armored vehicle's path, Franklin will drive a tractor to overturn the armored vehicle, and Trevor will support both from above, after Franklin knocks over the armored vehicle and uses a bomb to break the door. The three of them were surprised because there was no money inside the car, but all three were dumped by the police. After fierce resistance, all three were finally able to escape from the scene. Franklin would take the garbage truck to waste. Destroyed with an explosion. At the same time, Michael brought the file to American billionaire Devin. After Michael gave the file to American billionaire Devin, a few days later, billionaire Devin's assistant asked to meet all three people, Michael, Trevor, and Franklin, at a construction site. Devin asked all three to rob two supercars of the two children of the biggest tycoon in Los Santos. Fanlink will be given a supercar to customize to his liking and pretend to be another tycoon's child, run to the gas station and encourage the other two to race. Meanwhile, Michael and Trevor will pretend to be police. After stopping all three cars for speeding violations and organizing illegal races, Michael and Trevor will get into two supercars belonging to two kids, both of them. Three drove back to give it to Devin. After finishing the job, Devin asked Trevor and Franklin to cooperate to rob another supercar belonging to billionaire Los Santos. Trevor was provided with a police helicopter to facilitate the robbery of the supercar for him. Franklin agreed and broke into the movie set, disguised as the main actor. Steal a supercar in front of the security guard. After completing the tasks that Devin assigned, Devin felt that he could no longer take advantage of Franklin, so he turned to seducing Lamar to work for him. At a phone booth near Legion Square, Lester asked Franklin to kill a man named Jackson Skinner, the head of product development at the computer application company, Facade, who profited from collecting information. Customers in Moscow and Tehran were then illegally sold to terrorists and governments around the world. Lester said he knew he liked and regularly visited a prostitute in La Puerta. At the same time, killing him will help increase the stock of the company, Fruit Computers, in which Lester is a major shareholder. Franklin is on the phone in a public room in Hawaii. Lester says the next target is Isaac Penny, the capitalist who controls the majority of shares in the transport company, Vapid. He is planning to fire thousands domestic labor just to reduce his company's shares and then collect them all to monopolize the company, but he is a miserly millionaire who only uses the bus to go to work every day so he can easily reach him. Franklin then staged the assassination as an accident. Michael visited movie producer Solomon Richards at the recommendation of billionaire Devin. He and Solomon quickly became close to each other when Michael proved to be a big fan by clearly remembering the immortal sayings in his movie. Richards asked, "Devin sent Michael here to kill you?" Michael told Devin that he needed help with his upcoming movie project before he retired. Richards said that Devin just wanted to turn the studio into an apartment for his son soon. He said he was working on the movie project, Meltdown, but he couldn't. Manager Rocco Pelosi is demanding too high a price for the lead actor in the movie Meltdown, Milton McElroy, and director Anton Baudelaire is currently having mental problems and is pressuring him to leave the company, making his film project impossible. Proceeding smoothly, at this point Michael agreed to become Richard's new assistant and go solve the problem for him. One legendary producer. After work, Michael went to get his car home and received a text message from the Mexican drug lord Madrazo, the person whose mansion Michael and Franklin demolished at the beginning of the movie. After Michael received a call from the Mexican drug lord Madrazo, who in the beginning of the movie Michael and Franklin demolished his villa, and he arranged to meet both Michael and Trevor at his private villa. When entering the house, Trevor noticed Madrazo's wife, but Michael stopped her. Then Madrazo told Michael and Trevor that his nephew intended to oppose him. Currently his nephew is carrying a lot of documents related to illegal business of him. Madrazo requested her to be more precise, hired Michael and Trevor to steal the documents back. When the plane carrying Madrazo's nephew left Los Santos to go to another city, Michael ambushed and shot down the plane. Trevor drove to the crash site, killed Madrazo's nephew and took back the documents. While Michael blew up the car used to shoot down the plane to erase all traces, Trevor took the file to Madrazo's house, but Madrazo paid a price that was too low for the mission. He is the president of Trevor Philips Group, so Trevor could not accept this price, so he kidnapped Madrazo's wife and stole his car. After telling Michael, Michael was quite surprised and completely disagreed with Trevor's work, but to avoid Madrazo's pursuit, the two decided to hide in the suburbs and not return to Los Santos City for a while. After Michael and Trevor kidnapped Madrazo's wife, the two hid on the outskirts of Los Santos. Franklin went to Michael's house to visit but didn't see him at home. Franklin called Michael and was told by Michael that he was having problems with Madrazo, so Michael and Trevor were hiding. At that time, Trevor woke up and Ron told him the bad news. There was a Meriwether military plane flying over carrying weapons and money. Trevor used his plane to spray pesticide to fly after the military plane. Trevor rushed straight into the warehouse, in the air, simultaneously shooting down transport troops and hijacking planes. But unfortunately for Trevor, that military plane was able to alert the military on the ground and he was shot down by 2 support jets. When Michael went to the weapons store, he received an email from his daughter Trace. She was in tears when drug lord Madrazo called and threatened Michael for daring to kidnap his wife. Michael said let Michael arrange this matter smoothly. At the same time, Trevor also received a phone call from the O'Neill brothers. The O'Neill brothers cursed at Trevor because he burned down the farm and murdered him. In their gang, Trevor was bitter to the extreme for not killing the right person at that time, but was forced to temporarily put this matter aside to prepare for another business deal. Trevor went to Chef's factory and met Michael. Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave came in and asked to solve a problem related to money. Michael and Trevor called Lester to ask him to plan the next mission. Hey, all 3 people, Michael, Trevor and Lester, came to investigate the situation at a bank in the suburbs. After returning to the factory, Lester outlined a detailed and meticulous plan for this robbery. When Trevor went to his airport to check, he received a call from Franklin. Franklin reported that some country guys were looking for Trevor, looking very fierce, and that Franklin was following them. Trevor immediately realized that the O'Neill brothers were pursuing him, and was angry. Trevor told Franklin to follow them, so that Trevor could take Michael to pursue them in reverse. On the way back, Trevor received news from Lester that there was a military vehicle running on the road, and needing to steal weapons from that military vehicle to prepare for the upcoming bank robbery. Secret to prepare for the bank robbery. After work, Trevor went home to pick up Michael and hunt down the O'Neill brothers. Franklin and his chop dog were following the O'Neill brothers' trail when they were discovered, both sides chasing each other like in the game GTA 5. Suddenly there was a deer running on the road. Unfortunately, the O'Neill brothers avoided the deer, so they fell into the abyss and hid in the forest. Franklin called Trevor to let him know. Trevor was angry, rushed to the airport to get a plane to hunt down the O'Neill brothers. When they got to the forest where the O'Neill brothers were hiding, Trevor asked Michael to assassinate the O'Neill brothers. After all, the 3 returned to Trevor's airport. Very quickly, the day of the bank robbery on the outskirts of the city of Los Santos arrived. The trio of Trevor, Michael and Franklin met at Chef's drug manufacturing location, Trevor's Jr., to prepare for action. Everyone got into the pickup truck to carry out the robbery as planned. When they neared the bank, Franklin got out of the car as planned to prepare for the perimeter. Entering the bank, Michael, Trevor and a mercenary who took a percentage entered the bank and opened fire and robbed it. The group took $8 million, equivalent to nearly 200 billion Vietnamese dong. At that moment the police were summoned in front of the bank. A group of 3 people went inside to change into military uniforms that had been robbed by Trevor before, along with 6 guns. Barrel walked out of the bank, drying up the entire area. Franklin used an excavator to shield the group, jumped on the train and escaped from the scene. After arriving at a safe place, Agent Sanchez, a soldier of FIB agent Steve Haynes, came to take the money as agreed. The group only received a little money out of the $8 million they had just robbed. When Michael was relaxing at Trevor's house in the suburbs, Ron went in to find Trevor, but at that time Trevor was going out with Madrazo's wife, who had been kidnapped by Trevor. It seemed like both of them had given birth affection for each other. Ron talked to Michael, thinking that Michael was easy to bully, so he started blabbing all the time, until Michael gently said, "If you keep talking nonsense, I'll show you what my golden age was like." At this time, Trevor and Madrazo's wife came back from a walk and Ron announced that there was a regular train passing by once a month. Trevor came up with an idea to rob the train of goods. Trevor and Michael began to act to catch the train. Michael would go get the boat and Trevor would approach from above. On the locomotive, Trevor drove straight onto the train, approached the driver's seat and robbed the train. Trevor reverses the ship's direction so it goes in a different direction than scheduled and creates a collision between the cargo ship and another locomotive right on the ship. The container fell into the river. At this time, Michael also brought reinforcements from below and used a bomb to destroy the container door and steal a suitcase from the Meriwether army. At this time, both of them were chased by Meriwether. Both of them quickly ran to the sea into a safe area. When I opened the suitcase, it turned out to be a statue worth millions of dollars. Michael then told Trevor to bring the statue to the drug lord Madrazo and return his wife, so that they could both return to Los Santos without being chased by Madrazo's henchmen. After Michael and Trevor robbed the Meriwether army's $1 million statue, they both agreed to give it to Madrazo. Michael asked Lester to arrange this. After giving the statue to Lester, he asked Lester to arrange it. donated to Madrazo. Trevor also destroyed the ship used for the statue robbery. Both at the same time received a group call by Agent Steve Haynes. Agent Steve Haynes requested to meet the group including Michael, Franklin and Trevor at the bow catfish boat. Trevor ran home to shower and change clothes to go to the bow of the catfish boat. At this time, Franklin was also on his way there. At the bow of the catfish, Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave asked all three to go to the International Affairs Agency to steal an experimental product for FIB. This time both Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave participated. Family. At night, Michael, Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave boarded a boat to break into the International Affairs Agency from the shores outside the sea. After successfully breaking in, all three of them, Michael, Steve Haynes and Dave, quickly found go to the laboratory to steal biological experimental products. At that moment, security guards from the International Affairs Agency discovered it and a fierce gun battle began. The three people arrived at the gate and at the same time a plane arrived to reinforce all three, taking the experimental product away. Agent Steve Haynes, with his cunning nature, injured himself and stayed behind, while Michelle and Dave escaped by plane to Trevor's airport. At this time, Franklin had prepared a tractor to deliver the weapons. Settlement with drug lord Madrazo had been settled. Michael sent a message to Trevor to bring his wife home to him. Although Trevor was too late to break up with his 50-year-old lover, he did not forget to tell Madrazo to treat his wife well. Because he was so sad due to breaking up with Trevor's 50-year-old lover, Trevor shaved his head to change himself. When he arrived at Floyd's house, he saw Floyd and his newlywed wife arguing. Too tired, Trevor sat on the sofa drinking water. Floyd's wife kept talking. Then she held a gun and threatened Trevor. Angry at the situation, Trevor accidentally killed both of them. When leaving the house, Trevor met Trevor. Wade is Trevor's junior and also Floyd's cousin. Wade didn't know anything and was taken by Trevor to a strip club. Wade wanted to invite Floyd to go with him, but Trevor said Floyd was probably in love with him. His wife, both of them went to the escape club. Trevor let Wade sit outside to play. Trevor went into the club owner's room to negotiate to buy the whole club. After the successful sale, Trevor called Lester to entertain and plan the biggest gold robbery in Los Santos history. Lester called Michael and Franklin to gather at Trevor's newly purchased club to discuss the plan. The three of them arranged to wear yellow vests to look like businessmen to sit and negotiate like true gentlemen. Lester needed to scout the situation to come up with a detailed plan. Bullet. Michael and Franklin went to see the outside of the bank and the armored vehicles schedule. At the same time, Trevor and Lester took Trevor's private helicopter to see the direction of the two armored vehicles and study the approach and escape route of the whole group. After the group went to scout the situation for the gold robbery of the largest bank in Los Santos, Michael went home and Trevor returned to his club. When Trevor realized that Michael had left his yellow car here, because of his kindness, Trevor drove home to pay Michael. When he arrived at Michael's house, Trevor went inside to play. The two talked to each other. Trevor mentioned Brad and offered to rescue Brad from prison because Trevor thought Brad for the robbery 9 years ago in the town of Ludendorff was arrested. Suddenly, Trevor thought of Michael sitting here, who would be in Michael's grave in the old days in the town of Ludendorff. Because he was so eager to know the truth and realize something was wrong, Trevor took Michael's car and drove to his airport, used his personal plane to fly to the town of Ludendorff in the rainy night to find out the truth. Then when digging up Michael's grave, Michael also ran to the place at the same time. The truth was that Brad had died and Michael had staged a play for Brad to take his place. At the same time, the Triad gang followed Trevor here and rounded up Trevor. Trevor quickly ran away from the town of Ludendorff. Michael therefore got into trouble with the Triads because he thought Michael was Trevor's boyfriend. After Michael ran out to the car, Trevor stole the car keys while Michael was taken away by the Triads. On his way back to the airport, Trevor received a phone call from Wee Tan, also known as Tranvi, the president of the Triad, informing him that he was holding Michael, asking Trevor to come and meet him, because he was so bitter about being tricked by Michael. Live for the past 9 years, so Trevor let Michael die on his own in the Triad group. Then Trevor also received a text message from Lamar telling him to go to Lamar's house so that all three of Trevor, Franklin and Lamar could steal the last car to billionaire Devon and then receive compensation. After Trevor received a message from Lamar to go to Lamar's house to steal the last car and deliver it to billionaire Devon, Trevor returned to his club to change clothes to prepare for the car theft. On the way to the car at Lamar's house, Trevor received a phone call from his 50-year-old lover asking about Michael's health and asking about Michael. Trevor also told Madrazo's wife that he had stopped hanging out with Michael. She advised Trevor not to stop hanging out because of love. You can't get it easily. After that, Trevor drove to Lamar's house. Lamar told Trevor to go get the truck he had hidden earlier, while Franklin and Lamar also took the last supercar and met at a street in Los Santos City. Franklin put the supercar on the truck and all three transported the supercar to the meeting point to deliver it to billionaire Devon's people. When the three of them reached the bridge on the edge of the city, they encountered big trouble. The police discovered that these supercars were stolen goods and arrested them. Franklin was not afraid of danger and climbed back into the supercar. was restored to protect the truck so the group could complete the final car theft mission for the billionaire. Cutting off the police, Franklin escorted the truck to the meeting point. Upon arriving, Franklin met billionaire Devin's assistant and asked to pay for all the supercars the group had stolen. But at this time, old Devin turned around and asked his assistant not to give him the money, but tricked Franklin into letting him invest the money. Even though Franklin was quite upset with Devin's trick, he couldn't do anything about it. Franklin was so bitter about billionaire Devin's trick in the car theft that he became depressed. Franklin shaved his hair to change himself. Suddenly, Franklin remembered Michael because Michael was the one who introduced him. Devin told Franklin but couldn't contact Michael. Franklin asked Lester and Lester said to ask if Trevor could get Michael's information. When Franklin came to visit his aunt, he met Trevor here. Helpless, Franklin called Lester. Lester then connected Michael's phone through a special hacking application. Franklin tracks Michael's phone to an abandoned warehouse. Franklin rushes in to kill the triad member and rescue Michael. On the way the two of them fled home. Michael confessed to Franklin about everything including cheating on Trevor. After being rescued from the triads by Franklin, Michael returns home and receives a text message from Lester. Lester said some people from Fib wanted to meet Michael and Lester at Lester's factory. Very quickly, Michael guessed that it was Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave. Michael immediately ran to Lester's factory. Here, before Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave arrived, Lester asked Michael about Trevor. Michael also confessed to Lester about the incident. Lester says the gold heist was planned and no one can replace Trevor. Now Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave come in and get straight to the point, wanting Lester and Michael to break into the FIB's top secret room and delete all data related to the bad deeds of Steve Haynes and Dave. At the same time, Steve Haynes promised that all records related to Michael would be erased, giving Michael another status like a normal person. Lester needs to find out information and come up with plans to break into the Fib building. Lester and Michael took the car to follow a Fib cleaning staff and Michael broke into that cleaning staff's house, taking away clothes and cleaning tools in front of the cleaning staff's bewilderment. After finishing work, the two returned to the garment factory, where Lester also made an appointment with Franklin and asked for Franklin's help for this mission. Lester needs the design drawings of the Fib building. Because this is a special agency, the design drawings are completely confidential. Only architect Chip Peterson has this design drawing and always carries it with him. Because this was his first architectural work, Franklin was assigned the task of tracking architect Chip Peterson to steal the drawings. After dividing the tasks, Michael returned home with a lot of chaos in his head. He fell asleep on the sofa, true to the saying of loneliness on the sofa. Then Michael's son Jimmy went home because there is no place like family. Michael, also touched because he always missed his wife and children, he asked Jimmy where his mother was. Jimmy pointed to Michael's wife's place and then both father and son went to the nearby bean machine to meet their mother. When we arrived, Michael's wife was sitting and talking to the yoga instructor. This instructor had some offensive words so he had to hold his bloody beak. Michael's wife also said she missed Michael but wanted Michael to change to be a good husband and a good example as a father. Both decided to see Michael's psychiatrist to reconcile and mend this relationship. Michael and Jimmy went to pick up Michael's daughter, Tracy, so the whole family could go see a psychiatrist. Tracy was at the tattoo shop with Laszlo, where Laszlo was saying vulgar and sexually explicit words to Tracy when Michael overheard it. Michael went in and told Laszlo what pornography was. Michael didn't hesitate to take the tattoo ink bottle and tattooed a huge penis on Laszlo's chest, and also did not forget to trim his long hair. After finishing work, all three of them, Michael, Jimmy and Tracy, went to the psychiatrist's house where their mother was waiting. After reconciliation, the whole family lives together in the same house and rebuilds their own home. At this moment, Franklin called to inform Michael that Franklin was still following the architect Chip Peterson's trail and that he was carrying the blueprint with him. After mending the family relationship, Michael visited film director Solomon Richards to ask about his filmmaking. When he arrived at the studio, Michael saw Rocco Pelosi and Rocco Pelosi's personal bodyguard Gianni beating Solomon. When he saw Michael, both Rocco Pelosi and Gianni ran away in the red car. Michael took a nearby car and chased after him to teach these two guys a lesson. Michael forced Rocco Pelosi and Gianni's car to stop at the same time. He also pulled out his gun and sent Rocco Pelosi and Gianni down to the Golden Stream. Returning to the set, director Solomon promised Michael to star in his movie instead of Rocco. Michael happily left the set when he received a text message from Lester saying everything had begun. Michael immediately ran to Lester and found Franklin there. Lester burned down the garment factory because he was entangled with the government and shouldn't have left it. Mark. After finishing work, Lester went to Franklin's house to direct remotely while Franklin and Michael went to the government warehouse, where everything had been meticulously prepared for the Fib break-in mission including the pilot, gunman, driver and hacker. Wait. The whole group stayed at the warehouse until dark, then took action. The pilot transported everyone to the air raid point. The whole group parachuted in from the Fib roof, but the data room's door was locked. There was no other way. Michael had to use a bomb to break the door. After successfully breaking into the top-secret data room, Michael quickly took the phone and connected it to the FIB's top-secret computer. Under the remote guidance of the hacker, Michael successfully cracked the password. The problem is waiting for the virus software to be loaded. Michael's explosion alerted the security forces. Very quickly the security forces surrounded the entire FIB building, causing Michael, Franklin and the mercenary to fight back fiercely. In addition, the hacker had also prepared a backup ambulance. The group climbed into the ambulance and pretended to be paramedics to escape the scene. When they returned to Franklin's house, Lester was there. The group celebrates because the plan was successful. After Michael and Franklin broke into the FIB headquarters at the request of Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave according to his promise to erase all records related to Michael, Agent Dave called Michael to say that Michael and Trevor often attacked Michael. Military officer Merriweather asked Michael to go to court center to arrange everything. While both of them were talking, Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Sanchez arrives. Agent Steve Haynes says the government knows he was behind the bomb blast, now forcing Michael to either help him solve his problems or go to jail. Michael realizes it was Agent Steve Haynes who swallowed promise to him because he was afraid Michael would be the one to testify in court and bring his crimes to light. Agent Dave also saw his boss's intentions, so Dave sided with Michael against his boss Steve Haynes. At this moment, IA suddenly rushed in to control the group to the group's surprise. In addition, FIB also followed the group to arrest them. Steve Haynes asked who informed FIB. It was British soldiers. I am Special Agent Sanchez and reported this case to the FIB, but to my surprise, the whole group was again besieged by Merriweather. During the tension, Steve Haynes was shot in the leg by FIB. He quickly killed his subordinate Sanchez. Under siege by all three government organizations IA, FIB and Merriweather, Michael and Dave escaped. When they reached the court's central corridor, they were blocked by Merriweather's military plane. At this moment, Trevor needed his sniper gun to relieve Michael from the opposite roof. Under the support of Trevor, Michael and Agent Dave escaped the siege of all three government organizations IA, FIB and Merriweather. Michael arranged to meet Trevor in a small alley around the city, where the two reconciled and called Lester to prepare for the biggest heist. After escaping the siege and pursuit of all three government organizations IA, FIB and Merriweather at the court center, Michael went home. The next morning, Michael received an appointment with film director Solomon Richards at the studio. Michael was about to go to the studio when he got a phone call from Agent Dave. Agent Dave told Michael that there was a way to handle Michael's case and all the troubles of both Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave, which was to blame all the mistakes on Agent Sanchez, who was killed by Steve Haynes at the center. Courts, as for Michael, will blame Trevor for attacking Merriweather, causing trouble with the triads, and many other crazy things. Agent Dave and Agent Steve Haynes once again shook hands because the only contact who knew about the fight at the court center was Sanchez. But Michael seemed to disagree with the way these corrupt FIB agents were being treated, so he hung up, and continued to go to the set to meet movie director Solomon Richards. In Solomon's office, there was also billionaire Devon, and his assistant Molly. Here, old Devon played cards with Michael, saying that if his movie could not be completed, investors like him would receive huge insurance money and it was possible that the studio would be closed. And the government agreed to let Devon replan this film studio land. In order for the billionaire's script to be completed successfully, the best way is to take away the film director Solomon Richards that is being completed. Billionaire Devon's assistant Molly will take on this part. She took the film and prepared to take it to the airport to take the film abroad for destruction or other purposes. Molly was able to run to billionaire Devon's private airport to prepare for takeoff, but because she ate shrimp paste this morning, her life was as black dog sauce. Because she was in a hurry, she was sucked into the plane's propeller and disintegrated. Michael took back the film and stole billionaire Devon's private plane to escape from the siege of airport security forces. Michael parachuted to the ground and let the plane crash into the mountain. Michael called Solomon to inform him that the film roll was safe. Solomon said he would soon complete and announce the film project to the public so that no one could sabotage it anymore. Michael was as happy as a dog chewing a bone because he was preparing to become the biggest superstar in Los Santos City, so he ran home to get some sleep after all the events that had happened. Franklin received a phone call from Lester at a public telephone booth. Lester asked Franklin to eliminate a mafia guy who had switched to construction because this guy was exploiting workers' labor, and if this mafia guy was eliminated, it would affect the stock and also make Lester earn money. Quite a bit in this mission. According to Lester's instructions, this guy is at a construction site. Franklin immediately ran there, breaking into the construction site in a noisier way. When he reached the rooftop of the building under construction, this guy tried to run away but was also chased by Franklin. When he got home, Franklin's girlfriend came to inform him that Lamar was in trouble with the Ballas gang and was being captured by the Ballas group, wanting to ask Franklin to come and rescue Lamar back. Very quickly, Franklin asked for Lester's help to find Lamar's location. At the same time, Franklin also asked for support from both Michael and Trevor. When arriving at Paleto Bay, Franklin met Michael and Trevor also came here to help. The group divided the work among themselves. Franklin would launch the attack, Trevor would attack from the front door on the excavator, and Michael would cover with gun aimed from the hill. The group went straight into the Ballas gang's lair to hunt down the members of this gang and found Lamar. After rescuing Lamar and Franklin carrying Lamar home, he also met Agent Steve Haynes and Agent Dave Norton here. Here, Agent Steve Haynes asked Franklin to eliminate Trevor very quickly. The release date of Michael's first film came in a press conference was announced at the film's premiere at the Oriental Cinema on the Los Santos Walk of Fame. On the way, Michael received a phone call from billionaire Devon calling Michael sarcastically because he was upset that his assistant Molly was sucked into the plane and also ruined his plan to appropriate the insurance money. Smoke. Michael realized something was wrong but still went to the Oriental Cinema to attend the movie premiere. While waiting for Tracy's wife and daughter to arrive so the whole family could go into the theater, he also met billionaire Devon here. At that time, Michael realized something was happening at home. Coming home, Michael realized that the whole family was in danger from the Merryweather mercenary team. Without having time to drink water, Michael took out a gun and went in and out of the house to rescue his wife and daughter, Tracy. Michael finished dealing with the Merryweather squad. The next morning, Michael called Lester and told him everything about the incident with Lester and asked if Lester could do the gold robbery soon so that everything could be resolved. After Michael called Lester, Lester quickly summoned the group to Trevor's strip club to make a detailed plan for the group. The group decided to break into the Federal Reserve Bank by pretending to be authorities escorting gold. In order for the mission to go smoothly, Lester needs a nail-spreading vehicle and a police uniform to block the armored vehicle's path. Michael will take care of this. After the mission was successful, Lester needed 4 customized gauntlet cars so the group could escape and carry 1 ton of gold, equivalent to $200 million, about 5 trillion Vietnamese dong. This amount of money is enough for the whole group to change their lives. The group already has 1 and Franklin will take on 3 gauntlets, and Lester will take on hacking into the national system requiring all the gold to be concentrated in one bank for easy action and guide the entire group's actions. Very quickly the group split up to start preparations. The police sneaked in and stole a nail-spreading vehicle and hid it under the bridge where the strip club was. After finishing work, Michael shaved his head to make it easier to carry out this mission and avoid the pursuit of Merryweather mercenaries. At the same time, Franklin at home also received the coordinates of the gauntlet cars whose locations were hacked by Lester. Very quickly, Franklin took all 3 remaining gauntlet cars hidden in a warehouse to prepare for this mission. After finishing his chores, Lester arranged for the group to go to a strip club. After everything was prepared for the gold theft, the group gathered at Trevor's strip club. According to the gold transfer schedule, it would be 8 AM the next morning, so the group decided to stay all night at the club. Very soon, in the morning according to the predetermined action plan, Michael, Trevor and 2 other mercenaries will pretend to be in police uniforms, while Michael, Lester and Hacker will be responsible for moving. The car escaped to the Golden Raid Point. Here, Michael used a nail-spreading truck that had been stolen from the police, spreading the nails out to block the armored vehicle's path. 2 armored vehicles were hit with nails very quickly. The group went down to control the gold escort force, another party. Will have the task of replacing 4 new wheels to rob 2 armored vehicles pretending to be gold escort forces. In order for the mission to go smoothly and to easily break into the Federal Reserve Bank, Michael also controlled the captain named Casey and threatened him to follow or else he would go home and take care of the whole family. Casey was so scared, so I also need to help Michael's group. Arriving at the Federal Reserve Bank, thanks to Casey's help, the group quickly passed the security and inspection rounds. The group easily pushed 2 trays of gold to an armored vehicle to bypass bank security. After leaving the bank, the group encountered trouble with Merryweather because Merryweather learned that Michael, Trevor and Franklin were carrying out a gold robbery and they wanted to rob the group's superiors. At the gathering area, Lester also hacked into the traffic signal system of Los Santos City and guided the 2 armored vehicles carrying gold that Michael and Trevor were driving to the raid location and at the same time prevented them. Merryweather's car. When they arrived at the ambush point, the group excitedly transferred the gold from the armored vehicle to the escape vehicle that had been prepared in advance, where Trevor planned to kill Casey to keep the group's secret. But Michael did not agree, because without Casey it would be impossible to take the entire 1 ton of gold out of the bank so easily. Michael gave Casey a gold bar as a reward and said if he revealed more. When the group was transporting gold from the armored vehicle to the escape vehicle, Merryweather also discovered the group's location. Merryweather approached with the intention of robbing the group's superior. Michael, Trevor and Franklin had no choice but to fight fiercely with guns to protect the gold they had just stolen. After dealing with Merryweather, just as the gold had been transported to 4 cars to escape, the group got in the car to leave. At this time, the government had also received the news and the police were hunting and rounding up the group. The thrilling chase caused chaos throughout the city of Los Santos. When they reached the basement out of range of the police helicopter, the four gauntlets crawled into the cargo box of two tractor-trailer trucks and escaped. After work, Michael, Trevor and Franklin drove back to Michael's house and met Lester there. Lester said he would let things calm down for a while, and during this time he would melt all 1 ton of gold to erase all traces and bring it abroad for consumption. According to Ned's assessment, this mission is the best in the entire GTA 5 game series. After completing the robbery of 1 ton of gold at the Federal Reserve Bank, the group spread out to wait for the day Lester consumed the gold and became a tycoon in the city of Los Santos. One day while Franklin was watching the YouTube channel TV at home, billionaire Devin came knocking on Franklin's door, because he was too bitter towards Michael about everything, and the plan to kill Michael with the mercenary Merryweather also went bankrupt because Michael was quite difficult, so that's why billionaire Devin comes up with a plan to have the chickens fight each other, so he asks Franklin to kill Michael. Franklin is now faced with an offer to kill Michael from billionaire Devin or kill Trevor from agent Steve Haynes. And then at ending A, Franklin invited Michael to go to a deserted hill area to talk. Here, Michael thought Franklin needed his help with something, so he went out to Brothers, but quite unexpectedly, Franklin pulled out a gun and said he wanted to kill Michael. Knowing that he had been betrayed, he immediately got into the car and ran away. Franklin also followed to eliminate Michael. The two chased each other to a factory in the suburbs. At this time, Michael was cornered on the roof of the water tank and had no way back. Michael tried to explain and wanted to change Franklin's mind because they will always be brothers, but Franklin pushed Michael off the railing. And then Franklin slipped Michael's hand and fell to the ground, but it was just Michael's nightmare. Michael absent-mindedly sat smoking in the living room, because he had just experienced a nightmare, so Michael decided to invite Trevor out for a beer. When he met Michael also told Trevor about his nightmare. At ending B, Franklin called to make an appointment with Trevor to talk, and Franklin also pulled out a gun to kill Trevor. Trevor immediately ran away. The two chased each other to a factory. Michael also chased Trevor there. Michael forced Trevor's car to crash into a gas tanker. After the collision, Trevor was also injured, so he could no longer move. Could no longer escape. At that moment the gasoline spilled all over Trevor's body. In desperation, Trevor asked his two friends for help. Bang! But in reality, Franklin was not cruel enough to kill his two friends, and all three were brothers. Franklin called Lester for help and went directly to Lester's house to discuss. Lester had an idea to create a fake death due to an explosion for all four: Michael, Trevor, Franklin and Lamar at the gold foundry in Murrieta Heights. Lester asked everyone to gather at the foundry in Murrieta Heights and at the same time transport all the gold to another secret location, leaving only a little as bait. Very quickly, Franklin made an appointment with Lamar to make the plan a success. Lamar would stand outside to watch and alert them all, and Franklin would go in. In meeting the two saints Michael and Trevor, when Michael and Trevor kept meeting each other, they cursed each other like dogs and civets. Then Franklin came in to stop them. Very quickly, Lester informed Fib and Merryweather to trap them. Fib broke into the gold foundry in Murrieta Heights, where Michael, Trevor, Franklin and Lamar fought back fiercely against Fib. After resolving Fib, Michael left the foundry and was surrounded by Merryweather. The group continued to fight back. Return Merryweather. After resolving Merryweather, the trio of Michael, Trevor and Franklin decided to solve all the group's problems with the help of finding Lester's location. Franklin will solve Trevor's problem, which is the Triads. Michael will solve Franklin's problem, which is Stretch and the Ballas Gang, and Trevor will solve Michael's problem, which is Agent Steve Haynes. After removing the group's thorns, the last problem is the billionaire Devin, and the kidnapping of this billionaire will be undertaken by Trevor, while Michael and Franklin will return to the gold foundry in Murrieta Heights to counterfeit death for the whole group and also blowing up the foundry to erase all traces of gold theft. After Trevor broke into billionaire Devin's villa, overcame his bodyguards, he kidnapped him and put him in a private car to take him to the coastal cliff where he had arranged to meet Michael and Franklin from before. In the evening, after Franklin and Michael blew up the gold foundry in Murrieta Heights, they ran to the meeting point, opened the trunk of the car to meet billionaire Devin, and Franklin cursed, "Damn old man stole my car. And then you asked me to kill Michael? I will never betray my friends." Then the group pushed the billionaire's car into the sea and exploded, ending the life of the billionaire, who had a lot of money but also squandered his money. After the job was done, there were no more thorns in the way of all three's lives. All three's records were also erased. All three decided to go their separate ways and return to the lives of normal people, waiting for the day that Lester consumed all of them gold and become a tycoon. After all the events that happened, the three decided to still keep in contact with each other and consider each other as brothers in the family. And you, what do you think about this game? Don't hesitate to comment below.